All right, let's unpack the true meaning of reconciliation then with Mkhulu Nsingiza, CEO of the Zindzi Mandela Foundation and the founder of Great Empire of Kemet movement, and Kemet University of Truth weighs in on this matter. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon. So government's theme we're hearing for this year is reconciliation. So it's healing historical wounds and forging new futures. Can there be real reconciliation, restitution, emancipation, and healing while there's a lack of genuine apology, denial, lack of consequences, or even a lack of justice?
Oh, certainly, Ndlovukazi, there can never be any reconciliation, because the status quo remains. How can I reconcile while I'm still living in a concentration camp we call townships? How do I reconcile when justice hasn't been served? There has been no reparations for putting people in these, conditions for us to raise our children. Not only the land is not back, so you can't reconcile by saying to Black people, please ignore your pain, ignore your trauma. Just get along, because there will never be any economic justice and balance in South Africa as long as Black people are still, dispossessed. So it's all a lie, right? From 94. They should have just been, open to us. How do we reconcile when the colonizer, the perpetrator, still holds everything? They haven't lost anything. So 1994 didn't mean anything to Black people. We are still in squalor. We are still, the lowest in terms of the economic rank. So it's all a line of us.
And I mean, just talking about 94, we saw, of course, there were well-meaning intentions, to try and put in some programs for a road to reconciliation. So to what extent then was the TRC successful, especially given its intent and the public participation and engagement we saw from it? But given its limitations and its challenges, I mean, the Commission released the first 5 volumes of its final report, I think, in 1998, and the remaining 2 volumes much later on in 2003, with many still seeking, reparation.
Ndlovukazi, the TRC, it was a farce. Why? Because it then equated the perpetrator as well as those that were affected. So it was meant to pacify Black people, so that they look the other way as if there's progress. 1994 should have been a year where we destroyed the system that was colonizing us. The system that was declared by the UN as crime against humanity. So this system was not supposed to be revived because it's more stronger now. It's just being led by Black people, but the system remains the very same system that the UN articulated that it is crime against humanity. It's crime against the indigenous people of South Africa. So these republics are a problem. We can never move on as Black people until we destroy the system and reinstate our own governing system, which is the African royalty. And it was a way of suppressing the pain of our people. You remember when they dragged Mamwini to the very same reconciliation and demanding that Mamwini, apologizes, which was so uncalled for and so unjust a spit, to all those that were responsible, in the struggle. And most of the perpetrators are running free. No justice has been served with regard to, Black people. White people are getting along. Everything they've been protected right from 1994. 1994 didn't liberate Black people. Instead, it imprisoned Black people more because the leaders decided to preside over what is called is theft, which is the Republic of South Africa. So until we unite, as indigenous of people, of this country and reinstate our own governing system, there is no future, for Black people in this country.
I think you are articulating and also echoing just some of the rhetoric and narrative that we've been hearing over this past weekend from the various political parties that were observing some form of celebration within their ranks. But I want to talk now about how we can, as society, continue to practice African spirituality when the practice of certain rituals, as an example, especially by Black people, is not recognized and it's not accepted.
That is what I mean, that we decided to then branch out and actually initiate a parallel system where we are now making this African culture and African spirituality alive by forming what is called the Great Empire of Kemet, where we are freely practicing. And, for the past, over 20 years, we've been trying to conscientize the government, especially about, laying a good foundation, for African people. The calendar is an example that we are using, which is the foundation of our spirituality, is a calendar that is wrong for the Southern Hemisphere. We are on the, Southern Hemisphere, but they are imposing this northern-based, a calendar on us. So we've made it our responsibility outside of government, because we're trying to engage over 20 years. They don't want to reinstate the calendar that we used, before we colonized. So that is why we are doing it independently. And Black people are responding, freely. As it is now, we're preparing to go to Limpopo at a place called the line of, at the Capricorn Monument, where we are going to do an ancient ceremony of rejoicing and celebrating the birth of, a special energy which is pumped by the sun on the 23rd of December. The sun pumps enough hydrogen on Earth to sustain Earth again until this period. This is a ceremony, an ancient ceremony that was practiced. So it's a way of trying to guide the Black people and give them the tools as to how do we reconnect back to nature, because African spirituality and culture, it is nature-centered. So therefore, we are leading that way outside government, because the government doesn't want anything that has to do with, Blackness.
Mkhulu, thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate your analysis on that. Mkhulu Nsingiza is the CEO of the Zindzi Mandela Foundation, as well as the founder of Great Empire of Kemet movement and the Kemet University of Truth, of course, saying that Black people need to go back to their own spirituality as well, as we try and foster and work together to unify the country in essence on this particular day.